I'm Victoria, 34. My niece Lily was fighting for her life in the ICU, while my brother went golfing with my wife. That's how it always was with Marcus. The kid could be gasping for air, and he'd be worried about his tea time while planning his next hookup. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below, and hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever felt completely betrayed by the people who were supposed to have your back. You'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. I found myself standing outside Lily's room again, watching her sleep, with those machines beeping out her fragile heartbeat. She was 14, and looked like she weighed maybe 85 pounds soaking wet. The leukemia had ravaged her body, and for months, we weren't sure she'd survive the treatment. Jennifer, her stepmother, sat beside the bed reading her poetry about stars and wishes. Jennifer had been more of a mother to Lily than anyone else in her life, even though she and Marcus had divorced 3 years earlier. Jennifer wasn't even in the building, again. Months earlier, my brother had shown up at my door looking like something out of a country music tragedy. Jennifer had left him with nothing after their divorce. No money, no car, barely the clothes on his back. She'd made sure he understood exactly what abandoning your child meant when the hard times hit. I thought I was being compassionate, opening my home to him while he got back on his feet. Looking back, that might have been my biggest mistake. Where's her father? The oncologist asked when I arrived that morning. Out, I said, trying to keep the bitterness out of my voice. He'll be back eventually. The doctor's lips pressed into a thin line, but she didn't push it. Jennifer and I had been the ones answering all the medical questions anyway. We knew Lily's blood counts, her reactions to different treatments, what made her smile through the nausea. Marcus knew what size shoes to buy her, maybe. Lily had been in the hospital for 5 weeks, fighting acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Her immune system was so compromised that a common cold could kill her. And through it all, Marcus treated it like an annoying interruption to his life. He'd stop by for 30 minutes, take a selfie with Lily, looking pale in the background, and disappear to meet my wife Sarah for lunch. Yeah, you heard that right. Lunch. That's what they called it. Aunt Vic, Lily whispered when she woke up. Her voice was hoarse from the medications. Did Dad come today? I smoothed her thin hair back, carefully avoiding the IV port. He'll be here soon, sweetheart. Another lie? I was getting excellent at those. Jennifer looked at me over Lily's head with an expression that said everything. We both knew Marcus wasn't coming. He was probably at some sports bar with Sarah, planning their next secret rendezvous while his daughter fought cancer. My wife Sarah had been surprisingly helpful through all of this. She covered Marcus's rent without complaining, brought groceries to the house, and never once suggested that maybe Marcus should take more responsibility for his own child. Looking back, her generosity should have been my first red flag. But you know how it is when you're drowning in crisis. You miss the shark circling because you're too busy trying not to sink. The nurse came in to check Lily's vitals. Her white blood cell count is improving, she said with an encouraging smile. That's really good news. For the first time in weeks, I felt something like hope. Lily was going to make it through this. She was going to survive. What I didn't know was that her recovery was just the beginning of our real nightmare. The thing about catching your brother with your wife is that no movie, no book, nothing prepares you for how completely stupid you feel. Like monumentally, earth-shatteringly, cosmically stupid. I'd been supporting Marcus financially for months while he recovered from his divorce from Jennifer. Turns out he was recovering quite enthusiastically in my guest bedroom with my wife. I came home early from the hospital that day because Lily was finally stable enough that Jennifer could stay alone with her. I was exhausted, thinking about a hot shower, and maybe collapsing into bed before heading back. The house was eerily quiet when I walked in, which should have been my first clue. Marcus's truck was in the driveway, but he wasn't in the living room, watching his usual sports channels. Then I heard it, that unmistakable rhythm that makes your blood turn to ice. And here's the thing that really gets me. I actually froze. I stood there thinking maybe I was wrong. Maybe it wasn't what it sounded like. Because that's what trusting people do, right? We give everyone the benefit of the doubt, even when the doubt is transparent as glass. But then Sarah moaned, that specific sound she only made when she was really lost in the moment. The sound I hadn't heard in over a year. I pushed open the door. Marcus was on top, his tattooed shoulders flexing like he was doing something athletic and admirable. Sarah's legs were wrapped around him, and neither of them noticed me at first. They were too busy betraying me to care about the woman who'd been keeping a roof over both their heads. Well, I said, and they both froze like deer in headlights. This explains why you've been so generous with his allowance. Sarah pushed Marcus off. Without a hint of shame, she grabbed the sheet like she was the wronged party here. Victoria, we didn't mean for you to find out like this. Oh, you didn't mean for me to find out like this? I walked further into the room, and honestly, I surprised myself with how steady my voice sounded. How exactly did you plan to break the news? Skywriting. Facebook announcement? Marcus finally found his voice. Vic, just listen. No. I held up a hand. I don't want to hear it. I especially don't want to hear it from either of you in my bedroom. Sarah had the audacity to look annoyed. Don't be melodramatic. These things happen. These things happen. Like adultery was something that just occurred spontaneously. Like weather or traffic. You're right, I said. These things do happen. And now other things are going to happen. Like both of you packing your shit and getting out of my house. You can't just throw us out, Marcus protested. I have nowhere to go. I stared at him. This man who'd abandoned his dying daughter to sleep with my wife. And felt something cold and final click into place in my chest. You should have thought of that before you decided my guest room was a good place for your midlife crisis. That's when Marcus said the words that severed whatever family connection we had left. What did you expect, Victoria? Sarah's actually fun. She's not some uptight control freak who thinks she's better than everyone else. Maybe if you weren't so busy playing hero to my kid, you could actually make your wife happy. Even Sarah looked uncomfortable with that one, but she didn't contradict him. She just sat there pulling on her clothes, while my brother explained why betraying me was actually my fault. 25 minutes later, they were both packed and gone. Marcus took his victimhood and his excuses. Sarah took her selfishness and her designer workout clothes. And I was left standing in my empty house, wondering how the hell my life had imploded so completely. But here's what they didn't take. They didn't take Lily, because that night, when Jennifer called to ask if Marcus was coming to see his daughter before her next round of chemo, I had to tell her the truth. And the next morning, when the hospital social worker asked where Lily's father was, I had an answer that was going to change all of our lives. The family court building smells like broken dreams. An industrial cleaner. I'd never been inside one before, but there I was. I'm filing for divorce and supporting Jennifer's petition for full custody of a girl who wasn't legally mine. The lawyer I hired looked like she could argue with a brick wall and win, which seemed appropriate for what we were about to face. Your brother is contesting this, Catherine Morrison asked, reviewing the paperwork with sharp eyes. He signed the initial papers, I said. But now he's claiming he was under duress, that we manipulated him. That was true. Marcus had been so eager to start his new life with Sarah that he'd barely read the custody modification documents. Now that Sarah had apparently dumped him 3 weeks into their relationship, he was suddenly interested in being a father again. The girl wants to stay with her stepmother. Catherine raised an eyebrow. She begged us not to make her go back to him. I said quietly. She told the social worker she'd rather be in foster care than live with Marcus again. That conversation still made my chest ache. Lily had been so calm when she said it, like she was ordering lunch instead of rejecting her only living parent. Smart kid, Catherine said. Heartbreaking, but smart. The divorce proceedings with Sarah were surprisingly simple. She wanted nothing, which made sense considering she'd been the one caught in flagrante delicto with my brother. Her lawyer basically showed up, signed papers, and left. Sarah didn't even look at me during the hearing. She's already moved in with someone else, Catherine informed me after one session. Some guy she met at a CrossFit gym. Of course she has, I said without emotion. I'd stopped feeling anything about Sarah, except relief that she was gone. The custody hearing was more complicated. Marcus showed up this time, looking hungover and desperate. Your Honor, his public defender began. My client has made mistakes, but he loves his daughter and wants the chance to be her father. The judge looked at Marcus with barely concealed skepticism. Mr. Chen, where have you been for the past 6 months while your daughter underwent cancer treatment? The judge looked at Marcus with barely concealed skepticism. Mr. Chen, where have you been for the past 6 months while your daughter underwent cancer treatment? Marcus shifted in his seat. I was dealing with my divorce and trying to get back on my feet financially. By staying with your sister. Yes, Your Honor. And during that time, how many times did you visit your daughter in the hospital? Silence. Mr. Chen, I asked you a question. Maybe 10 times, Marcus said, and even his lawyer winced. 10 times in 6 months? The judge's voice could have frozen nitrogen. And how long were these visits? More silence. Your Honor, Jennifer's lawyer stood up. Hospital records show that Mr. Chen visited his daughter 8 times in 6 months. The average visit lasted 23 minutes. During that same period, my client visited 127 times, and Ms. Victoria Chen visited 142 times. The judge turned to Lily, who sat between Jennifer and me in her best dress, a scarf covering her still patchy hair. Lily, do you understand what's happening here today? Yes, ma'am, Lily said clearly. My dad wants me to live with him, but I want to stay with Jennifer. Why? Lily looked at Marcus, and I saw something like pity in her 14-year-old eyes. Because Jennifer is the one who held my hair when I threw up from chemo. She's the one who slept in a chair next to my bed for 2 months. She's the one who learned how to give me my injections, so I could be more comfortable at home. My dad. She paused, choosing her words carefully. My dad is nice when he visits, but he doesn't know how to take care of me when things are hard. And cancer is really, really hard. I watched Marcus's face crumble. For just a moment, I think he actually understood what he'd lost. The judge granted Jennifer full custody that day. Marcus got supervised visitation twice a month, which he exercised exactly once before disappearing again. Have you ever watched someone throw away everything that matters because they're too selfish to do the work? Drop a comment below if you've ever realized that blood doesn't automatically make someone family. Raising a teenager with cancer is like performing surgery while skydiving. Everything's terrifying and delicate, and one wrong move could be catastrophic. I don't want to see him, Lily said, when Marcus's lawyer called about increasing visitation rights. We were in the kitchen making smoothies, our Sunday morning tradition that had developed naturally over the past 3 years. I have nothing to say to him. The kid was 17 now, taller than me, with a head of thick, dark hair that had grown back even more beautiful than before. She'd been in remission for almost 3 years, living with Jennifer and me in the house we'd bought together. The 3 of us had become a family in ways I'd never expected. You don't have to see him, I said, adding protein powder to her smoothie. But we should probably discuss what you want to tell the lawyer. Tell him my dad gave up his rights to have an opinion about my life, Lily said, scrolling through her phone. She was looking at college websites, planning her future with the determination of someone who'd almost lost the chance to have one. He made his choice. That was the thing about Lily that broke my heart and made me proud simultaneously. She was wise in ways kids shouldn't have to be. She understood consequences because she'd been living with them since she was 14. Your dad might want to be part of your life again, I said carefully. People can change. Lily looked up from her phone with an expression that was way too cynical for a 17-year-old. Can they, though? Because from where I'm sitting, Dad's been pretty consistent about choosing himself first. Hard to trust someone with that kind of track record. Jennifer walked into the kitchen, still in her pajamas, looking beautifully rumpled and content. We'd gotten married 2 years ago in a small ceremony with Lily as our only attendant. It had been the happiest day of my life. Are we talking about Marcus again? Jennifer asked, kissing my cheek and stealing a sip of my coffee. His lawyer wants to schedule a meeting, I said. Apparently Marcus wants to reconnect before Lily goes to college. Convenient timing, Jennifer observed dryly. Now that all the hard work is done, and she's healthy and successful. That night, Lily did meet with Marcus at a coffee shop downtown. Jennifer and I sat in the car like anxious parents at a first date, ready to intervene if necessary. She was inside for 45 minutes. When she came out, her expression was thoughtful, but peaceful. How did it go? I asked as she buckled her seatbelt. He apologized. Lily said matter-of-factly. Said he was young and scared, and didn't know how to handle having a sick kid. Said he wants another chance to be my dad. Now that I'm better, my hands tightened on the steering wheel. What did you tell him? I told him that I appreciate the apology, but I already have parents. Lily looked at Jennifer and me with absolute clarity. I told him that family isn't about biology or legal documents. It's about showing up when things are terrible and staying even when it's hard. You two did that. He didn't. How did he take it? Jennifer asked softly. He cried, Lily said neutrally. But they weren't real tears. They were the kind people cry when they realize they can't have something they suddenly decided they want. Sometimes this kid's insight was terrifying. College acceptances started arriving that spring. Stanford, MIT, Johns Hopkins, everyone wanted Lily. Her essay about surviving cancer and finding family in unexpected places had apparently moved admissions committees to tears. I want to stay close, she told us one evening as we reviewed financial aid packages. Berkeley or Stanford, somewhere I can come home for Sunday smoothies. You don't have to make decisions based on us, Jennifer said. And this is your life, your adventure. You are my adventure, Lily replied simply. You and Aunt Vic, we're a family. That doesn't change just because I'm going to college. She chose Stanford, pre-med. Said she wanted to become a pediatric oncologist so she could help kids like she'd been helped. The day we moved her into her dorm, Marcus showed up. I saw him first, standing awkwardly near the parking lot, holding a bouquet of sunflowers, like they were a shield. Don't, Lily said quietly, following my gaze. I've got this. She walked over to him while Jennifer and I watched from a careful distance. Ready to intervene, but respecting her autonomy, they talked for maybe 5 minutes. Then Marcus handed her the flowers. Lily took them, said something that made Marcus's shoulders slump, and walked back to us. What did he say? I asked. That he's proud of me. That he hopes I'll let him be part of my life now. Lily looked down at the sunflowers. That he's sorry for everything. And what did you say? I told him that I forgive him, Lily said quietly. But forgiveness doesn't mean relationship. It just means I'm not carrying anger anymore. I'm free of it, and I'm free of him. She handed me the sunflowers. These are for you and Jennifer, for actually earning the right to be proud of me. 4 years later, I walked Lily down the aisle at her wedding. Jennifer stood as her maid of honor. Her wife, Emma, had a family that welcomed us with open arms, understanding immediately that families come in all configurations. Marcus sent a card. He didn't attend, as I watched Lily and Emma exchange vows, promising to show up for each other through sickness and health, good times and bad. I thought about all the ways families can shatter and reform into something even stronger. Later, at the reception, Marcus appeared at the back of the venue. Jennifer noticed him first, her hand tightening on mine under the table. He looked older, grayer, worn down by years of choices that had led nowhere good. He stood there watching his daughter celebrate without him, watching the family he'd abandoned thrive in his absence. Then he approached our table during a quiet moment. Victoria, he said softly, Could I speak with Lily for just a moment? I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw something I'd never seen before. Not manipulation, not desperation, but what might have been genuine understanding of what he'd lost. That's not my decision to make, I said quietly. But Marcus, if you do this, if you approach her on her wedding day, you better be prepared for whatever answer she gives you. He nodded and walked slowly toward where Lily stood, laughing with Emma's cousins. I watched as he approached her, saw her notice him, saw her expression shift from joy to something more guarded. They talked for maybe 3 minutes. Then Marcus did something that shocked everyone watching. He knelt down in front of his daughter. Please. His voice carried across the reception hall as conversation stopped. Please forgive me. I know I don't deserve it. I know I abandoned you when you needed me most. But I'm begging you, let me try to be your father now. I need you. The silence was absolute. Every eye in the room was on Lily, waiting to see what she would do. Lily looked down at her father, kneeling at her feet, this man who'd given her life, but never truly lived it with her. When she spoke, her voice was calm, clear, and audible to everyone watching. You don't need me, she said quietly. You need to feel better about yourself, and I can't give you that. No one can give you that except you. She paused, then continued. I forgave you years ago, Dad. But forgiveness doesn't create relationship where there isn't one. Jennifer and Aunt Vic are my parents. They earned that title every single day for years. You're just someone I used to live with who gave me half my DNA. She reached into her clutch and pulled out an envelope. This is a check for $5,000. Use it to get therapy. Use it to figure out why you run from the people who love you. But leave me in peace. You chose not to be my father when I was sick and scared. You don't get to choose to be one now that I'm happy and successful. After that, Marcus left. Without the money, leaving the envelope on the floor, he simply walked out. Lily, Jennifer, and I continued living our lives as a family of the heart, proving that family is who you choose to love and has nothing to do with shared blood. If this story resonated with you, make sure to like and subscribe for more stories about finding your real family, even when it's not the one you were born with. As Lily kissed her bride and the crowd erupted in applause, I caught Jennifer's eye across the aisle. She was crying. This strong, steady woman who'd chosen to love an abandoned child was crying with joy. This was family. This was home. This was what happened when people chose love over convenience, commitment over comfort, showing up over running away. And somewhere out there, Marcus was probably still wondering why his daughter didn't need him anymore, never understanding that she'd stopped needing him the day he stopped showing up for her. But we understood, and that's all that mattered.